What a game, what a marathon it was tonight. What a marathon it was. Um, Nothing is easy with this team this year. Nothing is simple. Nothing is straightforward. It is a slugfest, wire to wire. But this team found a way to get it done. And LSU pull off the massive overtime victory. Kyron Lacey touchdown right there. As you just saw, the field is being stormed right now as we are speaking. It is absolute bedlam in Tiger Stadium. This is one of those moments where, where were you when this went down? And I know there's some people, friends of mine, Jamer right now, who might be watching this probably at some point. She is in the middle of the bedlam in that stadium right now. Nurse Court in the middle of the bedlam. So many, Stephen Miller, so many of you guys in the middle of the bedlam. Holden, and LSU pull it out. It was a game of topsy-turvy insanity where Garrett Nussmeier, you saw the worst of Garrett Nussmeier this season. You hadn't seen him play a more erratic or more poor half than we saw in the first half, right? It didn't matter. He pulled everything together. Yes, he threw 2 interceptions. Yes, he had some poor throws. 22 of 51, 337, 3 touchdowns. That's all that matters. We wanted to bring in a special guest here, Logan Graffia. Logan. Logan.
What's going on, Lon? Thanks for having me on. It's been a while.
Oh my God, man. What a moment. What a moment.
Yeah,
LSU pull it out.
it's
29-26 in overtime. Your first impressions, my friend. What a mad game that was.
I have two impressions. I have two things I can tell you. One, I probably need to go take 2 aspirin to calm my heart down because I was having many heart attacks there. But second off is this is just what happens when you're a Louisiana sports fan. There's stress throughout the whole entire game, and then in the end, by the grace of God, you win. And I mean, this just kind of was reminiscent a little bit of the night game against Alabama in 2023 when, at the
2022.
2022 or yeah, LSU Alabama when Jaden scored on that 2-point conversion. And that's what it felt like again, even though Nelson's not a scrambler, it's not Jaden Daniels at all, which he was, but you know, I never gave up hope. I mean, even though on Twitter I was trying to do my reverse psychology, and it worked. I mean, we losing that whole game, very resilient effort on the Tigers front, but there's some things that must be cleaned up because if your quarterback, throws the ball for over 50 times, 9 out of 10 times when I watch games like that, you lose. So we got lucky, and also hats off to the defense. Best defensive performance of the season by far.
Let me show you the stats from the defense. This was incredible from the defense tonight. Let's see here, because I want to make sure we get them definitive here. Okay. We had 11 pass breakups tonight. 11. Okay.
Oh wow.
9 TFLs, 6 sacks. Whit Weeks had 18 tackles, 10
Incredible.
solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pass breakup, and 1 forced fumble. What a performance.
And you have to shout out Zy Alexander because I mean, I remember when I was on your show, I think back in June or July, and I think I mentioned my former Southeastern brother Zy Alexander, and I mean, I even was telling you in the summer, I think he's going to have a bounce back year, and Zy Alexander looks like he is the best defensive back on the team, and I mean, ever since Zy has come back healthy, it's just the secondary is like night and day. Zy, I mean, you can't say enough. Zy with the interception right before Nussmeier threw a crazy interception, but Zy had a lot of PBUs. He was locked down. I think before the game, one of the keys I said you have to put Zy on Trey Harris tonight if you want him to be locked down. I said that in one of the group messages. I think I said that in the group message I'm in with you, or at least one of them. But valiant effort by the defense. I mean, Blake Baker. They said Blake Baker said that he thinks the defense is going to perform better because they had that week off, and he was absolutely correct. Like I said, best performance by the defense. I mean, Whit Weeks was a tackling machine, as you point out his stats. I mean, Braden Swinson coming off the edge like a bat out of hell each play, causing havoc for Jackson Dart all night. And the defense won LSU this game. They kept them in this game all night long. So credit to Blake Baker and his defense tonight.
Absolutely, and I mean, the secondary, they were really bad at first in this game, just getting shredded, and they still got shredded in the end, but they buckled down and at least fought, made these plays like Zy Alexander with that huge red zone interception, second red zone interception of the season for him. Both of them were key interceptions, one against South Carolina, and now he does it again here. But man, it's the pressures up front. I can't wait to see how many pressures we had because we just littered the stat box. I mean, look, I mean, Whit Weeks had a sack. Greg Penn III had a half of a sack. Braden Swinson with another 2 sacks. Major Burns had a sack and a half. Major Burns with a sack and a half. And
They're using Major Burns better. It's like I
how
think it was
how he should be used.
exactly. I think it was that South Carolina game was when Blake Baker was finally asking the players. I think they said it's like, okay, which positions do y'all feel comfortable in? And that was the game that they started using Harold Perkins in that star role instead of Major Burns, and it just worked flawlessly. I mean,
Well,
Burns is a better box safety than he is a coverage safety. That's my opinion. He's better at staying in the box and coming off the edge and rushing and being in that type of hybrid linebacker kind of role that he should be in. So,
well, I mean, that's obvious. That's been proven over time with his lack of coverage abilities. But then the plays he can make like this, we saw that in a few games last year at certain times. But Nuss got away with some throws tonight, man.
oh
There was
yes, he did.
some erratic throws, some going for the hero ball a lot of times instead of just taking the yards in front of him, the space in front of him for tuck it and go for 15 yards. There was just a lot of times he was not reading the defense like he could. What did you think of Garrett Nussmeier's performance tonight, all in all, considering he
I
just had an epic moment in Tiger Stadium?
Well, outside of the game-winning touchdown, I thought. I mean, this was by far the worst that he's performed all year long. I mean, there was a lot of passes I questioned oh, the whole entire game. I mean, it looked like he was trying to be Brett Favre tonight, but let's just be honest, not everybody could be Brett Favre and just, sling the ball into triple coverage and you be able to fit into a tight window. I mean, I'm sure Nuss can do that because he has the arm strength and the power behind his passes to do so, but triple coverage, I mean, erratic throws, as you said. I mean, as they say, YOLO balls. I mean, after that Zy interception, he gives it right back to the old Miss on a pass where it looked like no one was even there. I mean, I think this was his worst performance of the year, but I do believe that he will bounce back. But it's like I said earlier, if your quarterback's throwing over 50 passes in a game, 9 out of 10 times you're going to probably lose. The last quarterback I think I've seen to actually throw for over 50 yards and actually win the ball game was, I think, Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Falcons. I think he threw it like 66 times, but tonight was just not Nuss's best work, but I'm sure he's going to bounce back. I still believe in the Nuss bus, so uh, I
Well,
think
how can you not,
learning,
man?
yeah,
How can you not? He fought through every adversity. He played his worst game of the
mhm.
season,
Oh
technically,
yeah,
and still threw for over 300 yards and still delivered the victory. I mean, Ole Miss are an improved defense. Their
hmm
secondary were awesome tonight. Um, Much improved secondary, and we still had Aaron Anderson making plays. We still had Kyron Lacey making plays. Mason Taylor finally came alive in that last quarter.
finally, absolutely. I mean, I don't know why they didn't get Mason Taylor involved earlier. I mean, I think they was trying to, but it looked like Lane Kiffin kind of you watch film like the rest of the country does on Mason Taylor when they scouting the opposing offenses, and Mason Taylor, of course, is a key for LSU's offense, or at least one of them. Uh, eh, he they got him the ball when it mattered the most. I mean, he was a little bit absent in the beginning of the games, but when the game was on the line, they finally get him involved, and the ball got moving, and it was just like finally, it was like a relief, you know. So
There was 6 targets his way before he finally had a catch. So
right.
he had chances, and there was a few passes that hit him in the hands. Um, they were trying to get him the ball. It wasn't totally working out. There were some errant throws by Nuss where he's putting it 6 feet over Mason's head and stuff like that. It was not the best of Garrett Nussmeier, but the fact that he got it together,
Mhm.
delivered the winning drive right there on overtime in just one play, just was like, let's go finish this. You know, Nuss showed a lot of heart tonight, in my opinion. I don't care what anyone says. He
I
delivered the
agree.
victory.
I absolutely agree with that line, and I mean, I know I was showing pessimism during with my tweets during the game, but as I say, sometimes I like to do reverse psychology because when I watch these games, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of like my little funny thing I do, but you know,
Man,
I
this
think
game
that
had a billion reviews, Logan. A billion
Billy.
reviews and stoppages. It went for over 5 hours, this game. Like,
I
my
was not
God.
expecting it. Well, let's just say this: I don't smoke, but I can see you smoking a cigarette there, and I'm sure every LSU fan thinks that would like a puff off of one right now. But this
It
was
was a wild
it
game, my
was a
friend.
wild game.
It
I
was a
mean,
wild game.
lead
This was
this
not Louisiana.
matchup,
What?
yeah, so leading up to this matchup, I think throughout the whole entire week on ESPN, they were saying this was going to be a shootout between Dart and Nuss. Now, technically, you can maybe say it was a shootout, but this was probably a defensive. This was a defensive battle until the end. I mean, it was like bend, don't break
Yes.
kind of game, and LSU was bend it a little bit, but they did not break. I mean, even with the tiniest bend, they fought back and they found a way to win the ball game. I mean, losing the entire game and then to win in overtime was just incredible. Incredible. I mean, there was still poorly coach moments that I saw out there, but all in all, I mean, resilient effort can't just go without saying. Resilient is the key word for tonight for me.
And that's the thing this team has been all season, really. They've had moments that show their youth and experience, show the lack of depth, and still they're delivering 5 victories in a row. It looked like the LSU offense from the USC game for
Yeah,
a
you
lot of this
mentioned that
game.
to me.
But then they just kept chipping away and making plays, keeping us in the game, Logan. And I mean, I feel as if I'm sick just from watching that game. Like, I feel physically ill. Like, oh my God, that game is nuts.
It
Like,
was it was exhausting. I totally get it. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat all game watching it, but you know, moving forward, I mean, when you moving forward with if you are an LSU player and you go back to the film room, there is positives from this game you can take away, but the negatives you gotta work on is, I mean, on the offense, you gotta find a way to run the ball better. You
Oh
gotta
my
tell
God.
you gotta tell Nuss if there's an open alley, if there's nobody open, take off. I'm sure he's got 4.8, 4.7 speed. I mean, we saw him take off today when it like in the fourth quarter out of the end zone. He ran it for 15 yards. He can do that almost every game. They're not keying on him as a runner like they were Jaden Daniels for 2 straight years. So he's got to start adding that to his, his utility belt, you know,
He
going
has
forward
to.
because it only gets tougher because next game you have Arkansas for the boot, then you have Texas A&M, and then of course you got Bama soon. It's just like start adding things to your utility belt. I mean, if you're going to be Batman, you have to have a lot of things in your utility belt and not just, trying to be Brett Favre and slinging the ball. I mean, I love Brett Favre in his play style and I love Derek Nussmeier in his play style, but you know, sometimes you have to run if nobody is open. I mean, there was a gap. I think they showed it on the replay. There was nobody open. You could have drove a truck through the
Yeah.
gap. All he had to do was just take off, and it probably would have been a 15-yard game. But I think he's going to see that when they go watch film, probably tomorrow with the team or whenever the next team meeting is. And everything is a learning moment from this game. Everything could be a teaching moment. There's positives, there's negatives, but this was still a good game. I'm happy that we won.
The best part is all of that's true in the context of getting a magical win in Tiger Stadium, where the magic of Tiger Stadium is still alive. To only 37 yards rushing as your leading rusher on the day, 34 from Josh Williams as well, 37 from Caden Durham, just nothing running the ball, 84 total yards rushing the ball. You just, you know, 11 of 22 for Ole Miss on third down, 2 of 3 on fourth downs. They had 84 plays, R75. They were LSU were up against it in this one, and letting them run the ball all over us, 180 rushing yards from 42 carries, and yet still it didn't feel like they were. It still felt like Ole Miss, when it came down to it, really had to dig for any points against this defense. No matter how many coverage busts, no matter how many run fit busts, we were in the wrong gaps, etc. There was so much pressure and relentless playmaking from our defense to just fight that it didn't matter how many times our offense put them in bad situations either. Our offense were diabolical tonight at some points to our defense. Our defense would do so much good stuff and then just put in the worst situations time after time by this offense who just couldn't generate anything.
And it's crazy to say that we're talking about LSU's offense because, I mean, for the last few years, all we've talked about is how great LSU's offense is. Oh, we need a defense. And now it's the reverse this year. I mean, the defense is vastly improved. It looks like the offense took like a tiny step back, but of course you're going to take a tiny step back because you're losing your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. You're losing your two, aerial. You're losing your two wide receivers and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, but it's always going to be a struggle when you're losing your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and the two best players. But, you know, I think this LSU offense is going to be better going forward. Now, I don't. There's Lon. I was about to say, oh, Lon's making me run the show now. but but yeah, I think going forward, you can only improve going forward.
This was just wild, man. This is just wild. I mean, everything that it just seems LSU once again down by 10 plus points against a team and somehow find a way.
Just like against South Carolina, it's just There's an old saying that I think I remember Bill Parcells saying on one of the NFL films: "Great players make great plays in the biggest moments." And so far, these last few games, I mean, you're up against adversity against South Carolina. You find a way to win. You're up against adversity against Ole Miss the entire game. You find a way to win. You just grit and grind, and you fight until the bitter end, until the clock hits double zeros, or in this case, overtime. So the old Bill Parcells saying is true. Great players make great plays in the biggest moments, and Nussmeier found a way, and Kyron Lacey did too, and LSU's
That's the
filled
thing.
with great players.
Kyron Lacey, he was not playing his best either, and then he turns it on for 5 catches, 111 yards. His second straight game with over 100 yards. Logan, I'm gonna jet off of this and get going on the article. I literally feel sick, like actually physically ill, like a cold
Ooh,
or something. Bro, thank you for joining me. We need to
no
talk more
problem.
about this crazy game. Let me know when you're free next.
Will do, Lon. Just message me and we'll schedule something, man. I always appreciate hopping on with you.
Logan, my man. Thank you very much, brother.
No problem, Lon. Thanks for having me.
Everybody, what an insane game. We're gonna get to work on our article. We're gonna get going with this, but this thing was a roller coaster. This thing is just a Michael Bay film. This thing was madness, and we're going to try and encapsulate all of that over the next day and a half here. So buckle up with LSUODYSSEY.com. This is just the beginning. Thank you very much.